Cool. All right, great. Um, well, there, that killed that half minute that I was talking about. Um, my name is John Egelkrout. I'm here to talk about writing the memoir. That's a type of writing I do. I would say that probably comprises about 25% of what I write in one form or another comes out. Sometimes I start out writing something else and it turns in to a memoir. And so I'm just here just to hi everybody. Um, I'm here just to show you what I do. I'm not going to come across as some highly polished expert that you need to write down everything I say. But if I mention something that you go, hey, I haven't thought of that before, definitely write it down, give it a shot, and see if it improves what you're doing. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I just retired from 36 years of teaching in the classroom, high school level. My last 6 years were in the inner city, toughest clientele you could imagine. I'm so excited. Monday is their first day back to school, and I will be going out for breakfast. So I can't tell you how happy I am to be doing that. I taught history and English, so those are two areas that I feel qualified to write about, and both end up feeding into memoirs pretty well. I've been on Medium since 2020, though full disclosure, my first year was a disaster. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had seen a story on Facebook from a friend of my son's that I read. And I don't like to drop names on here, but the author's name was Julio Vincent Gambudo. And if you've ever read anything of his, he's an excellent writer from New York. I read his article and said, I got to get in on this. This is cool. And the first year, though, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't even know who to ask. And so I would write a story, maybe one a month, and I'd get 47 cents for it. And I was so pathetic. I didn't even know how to set up a Stripe account. So I wasn't even getting my 47 cents. And then finally, after a year, I said, you know what, I should take this more seriously and learn and figure out how to do it. And so really in the spring of 2021, I would say is when I really started taking it seriously. A memoir. A lot of people, when they think of memoir, what they're really thinking of is sort of an autobiography. And there's a big difference, at least into my way of looking at it, a difference between an autobiography and a memoir. An autobiography, unless you're somebody that is famous, somebody that everybody knows, an autobiography isn't going to capture a lot of interest. I mean, if you read my autobiography, it'd be a great thing to read at night before you go to bed because it would probably put you to sleep. But a memoir is different. A memoir is really just a short story, a short snippet out of your autobiography that has a very specific time with a very specific event or series of events that are all tied together. I would say a really important aspect of writing a memoir is that it's relatable to the people that you want to read it. The person should be able to read that and go, wow, something like that happened to me, or I remember something very similar in my life that I can relate to. I've been there. I know how that feels. I know what that looks like. The really good ones, and I'm not really sure if this is good or bad, but I'm going to just fess up here. I think good ones evoke an emotional response. So when you read one of my memoirs, there's one of three things I hope you react. I hope you either laugh so hard, a good belly laugh, or you cry. If I can make you cry, you liked what I wrote because you read the whole thing and it got you in the feels. And that's a good piece of writing. Or an OMG response, like, oh, wow, I never, that kind of a response. If you're getting that out of your reader, you're connecting with that reader and they're probably going to follow you. look for your next piece of writing. And it's not as easy to do as you think. You have to really be willing to kind of bury your soul out there when you write some of these things. I put together, I looked over the memoirs that I've written, and I put together just a small list of ones that I considered my best. And the first one that I want to just mention in passing was called Confessions of a Recovering Catholic. Now, if you remember, I said it should be relatable. Well, think about how many people are Catholic in the world. So Confessions of a Recovering Catholic makes that person think, oh boy, this person, I know what this guy went through. I've been there. I went to Catholic school. I know how the nuns were in Catholic school. I know the ceremonies. I know the language. And so that was one that connected with a lot of people. And I wrote that about 2 years ago. And I think that was one of my first stories that I would consider went viral. And by viral in my world, viral is 1,000 views. If one of my articles gets 1,000 views, I'm doing the happy dance. I'm jumping up and down. That's a great time. A second one that I thought was really relatable was, I called it Confessions of a Grocery Store Worker. And everybody goes to a supermarket, and you pretty much take for granted how the whole operation is. And by reading that was one that would make people go, OMG, oh my goodness. The people working there might actually try to trick me and put the stuff they want to get rid of, or how much food gets thrown out, and all the things that I saw going on behind the scenes in a place that most people go to. So again, a very relatable place for the reader that they can and they know what to expect. Another one that I wrote that I consider among my best, and this is one that made people cry. I would say I don't know how many responses there were. I don't have it on my screen. I think there were probably, 50, 60 responses to it. I would say about a fourth of them on there, the person who wrote the comment said that they were either crying or it made them cry when they did. And at first I felt bad. I felt bad about that. I'm trying to make people happy and be glad they're reading what I'm writing. But I thought about it for a second. If you read something and it makes you cry, it must have been good. It must have really spoke to you. And so this one was I titled "Watching My Son Watching Me Grow Old." And it's another one it's highly relatable. Everybody has parents, or most people have parents that they see getting old, or they have children watching them get older. And I had both. And it struck me about 2 years ago is when I wrote it. My son came to visit me from Los Angeles. And I'm getting older. I'm 65 years old. And, I get stiff. I sit down for too long, and, my memory probably isn't as good as it used to be either. And I got to thinking, I wonder how much of this he notices. And then I got to thinking, wow, when I was watching my dad, I was in such denial. I always pictured him being younger, being the same age he always, like when I was a little kid. And I just started putting things together, and I came up with that title, Watching My Son Watching Me Grow Old, to get a reflection. Is like I ended that. I was happy with the way that I concluded it. Here's how I ended that to wrap up that watching somebody watch me. In the years to come, he'll no doubt watch me go through the same changes I watched my dad go through. He'll see me retire and no longer teach. He will see me gradually lose my physical strength and mental acuity. Someday I will see his reaction to my pillbox or walker or my wheelchair. I'll see the look on his face when he hears I can no longer drive a car or take care of myself. Through my son's eyes, I'll see a reflection of me aging and a distant reflection of me watching my dad. Another one that I put up there among one of my better ones was my season as a migrant fruit picker. And in that one, wasn't so much an OMG, but or didn't, I'm sure it didn't make anybody cry, but it allowed people to peer into a world that they probably have never seen. Where does your fruit come from? You go to the grocery store, or here we are back at the supermarket. Most people like apples. Where do they come from? And this was a story about a season that I had spent 1981 in Washington State, where I picked fruit. I lived in an orchard with other migrant workers, and it was hard work. It was a lot of fun, and it was a fun story to write. And another one of my favorites I wrote, I called The Cabin. When I was in high school, a couple of friends of mine and we built a log cabin during Christmas vacation. And that one was a story of camaraderie. It was what's sad about it is the people I built it with died. All of my friends that I knew back then aren't around anymore. And so it's kind of a reflection piece of when I was young. I was 17 years old when we did that. So it was a long time ago. And I can still picture it like it happened today. And my hope in writing something like that is to get people to think back on their lives. I mean, it's hard to write a memoir when you're 20 years old, but when you start getting, 40, 50 or older, there's a lot there. There's a lot in your life that other people could relate to if you just, put it out there. And finally, this was kind of a weird one, but it struck me. If you're familiar with Dan Fogelberg's music, one of his better known songs is Same Old Lang Syne. And it's a story, it's a true story that he wrote true song he wrote about events on Christmas Eve, 1975. And in 1975 on Christmas Eve, he ran into his old girlfriend into a store. And the two of them went off to try to find a bar to have a few beers. And they ended up just buying a 6-pack, and they sat in her car and talked. And they found out they really didn't connect the way they used to as they talked. And at the end of the song, she just got out and walked away. And it had kind of a somber end. And when I did the research on that song, where it came from, I found that on that very night, Christmas Eve, 1975, my high school girlfriend and I had broken up a couple months earlier. She called me on that Christmas Eve, and we went for a drive at almost the same time that Dan Fogelberg, about 300 miles to the south, was doing his thing with his girlfriend. I was driving around with my old girlfriend, and it ended the exact same way. So there was just something kind of a fun little collection of memories in that. Oh, what else? What else do I do? Introductions. Important to write good introductions. The purpose of your first paragraph is to get that reader to read the second paragraph. That's what you want to do. You want to, lure them in, get them interested. So you don't want to just take off and start writing the events, the story of what happened. Let me give you some examples of some introductions I've used. One memoir I wrote was titled A Walk Down some railroad tracks. And the house I grew up in had railroad tracks running behind it. Something as simple as that can bring out a nice little memoir. And I started it out by saying the house I grew up in had a feature most houses don't have. It was situated on a hill just above railroad tracks. For most people, this would not be something to be desired, but for children growing up, we could not have asked for a better playground. And then I got into what I learned playing on the tracks. And it was a fun way. And I actually had a picture of those tracks that I had taken, a couple decades ago, and I put it up there. Another introduction, my first car. Everybody, unless you don't drive at all, everybody buys a first car. Again, relatable. This memoir was titled A Car Called the Wolf, a story of a boy and his first car. I started it out this way. I still remember the day I saw it. It was the summer of 1974, and I was working at a resort cleaning cottages. The resort was about 5 miles out of town, and I had to ride my bike there to get to work. One day, while we were cleaning the cottages, the owner of the resort asked me what I was planning to do with the money I was earning. I told him I'd hoped to buy a car. Having a car at age 16 was something of a rite of passage in those days. And I go on to say how he took me to this garage and showed it to me. It was like an unveiling. And I still remember that car like I drove it yesterday. A push button transmission. It had the rear view mirror was on the dashboard. It had a big V8 motor in it. It had a Ooga horn in it, big fins. It was black and white. It looked something like a hearse almost. When I brought it home, my mom came outside to see what I bought, and she sat down on the front steps of our house and laughed and laughed and laughed. So first car, great topic. A lot of people remember that first car, and it's something other people, can connect to. Another good topic. Conclusions, just as important. Okay, Jay, if I can, you'd like to hear me talk about photos that accompany the stories. You've noticed that I usually do not include personal photos, but use photos from various photo websites. Thank you. Good topic. Great question. I am in the process on my computer. I have a folder called My Own Unsplash. I have a gazillion photographs on my computer in different places, like on my Google Drive and on my phone. What I haven't had time to do yet is, put them together into usable formats. So yeah, you're right, busting me out for that. I write the story, and then I go looking for the picture. And usually I want to get it published before too much time goes by, because I get busy, get caught up doing other things. And so I take the coward's way out, the easy way out. I go to Unsplash and find something that'll work, and I put it in there. I know, shame on me. It's not one of the better things I do, though I know I'm not alone. I'm working on that. I want to get a better collection of pictures for all occasions, and I'm working on it. Look forward as you go. Like I think one of the last articles I wrote wasn't really a memoir, but it was called. Oh no, Jay, no, I didn't take it that way. The last one, now that I've got more time on my hands, the last one I wrote was, what was it about growing up? It was about the good old days, and I was on my way to a store to buy some fertilizer for our gardens. And I saw somebody, I miss the America I grew up in. That one, I actually got out and took the picture on my way there, hoping nobody, came up to me and asked me what I'm doing on their property. They didn't do that, but I took the picture. Right. Oh, Isabella. Yes. I'm aware of like Pixels and Pixabay. I've looked those over and they're good. Those are good sources. My bias is if I can use one of my own, that's my preference, but I don't have pictures of everything. And so and there are some really good pictures. Side note, one thing that really cool that happened to me a number of years ago, about 2 years ago, when I was using a picture, the person who took the picture on Unsplash sent me a message saying they're the ones who took the picture, and they told me all about it. It was a picture of a woman laying on her back looking up at the sky, and the picture was looking down on her. She told me she had taken that picture of herself a few years back, and told me all about the history of that picture, which I thought was really a real cool connection. But no, that's what I want to do, and that's the direction now that I don't have to go to school every day. I'm going to have a little more time to do. Henry, I see. I don't recollect what. If I blocked you, I apologize. I don't remember doing it. But if I did, I apologize. I can't speak to that at the moment because I really don't. I don't remember. Let me get back on track here with the few things that I wanted to say before we go with other questions. One is, where do I get ideas from, or where can you get ideas to do your memoirs if you're interested in writing them? I have an internal calendar that I don't know. I think most people that know me are sort of amazed at it. If I just pick a month, I can mentally flip through the 30 or 31 days in it, and I can tell you things that happened on those dates and the year that those things happened. And like I'm just gonna pick one just for the fun of it. Let's see, today it's August. Let's go with August. August 1st, 1972. My dad gave me my first wristwatch, and it was the first day of football practice. I remember that, August 1st, 1972. August 9th was my high school girlfriend's birthday, the one that I'd written about with Dan Fogelberg. August 16th is my sister's birthday. August 19th was the day I graduated from basic training in the Army in 1976. I can go on and on like that. So things come up in my head when I look at the calendar, and some of them is like, yeah, nobody wants to hear about that. But every once in a while, there's a gem in there. And it's like, you know what? That would be a great story. I'll have to think about that. And I start jotting down notes. I have probably 75 to 100 partially completed stories. So someday, some of them, they're kind of like the books on my bookshelf. Some of them are going to get finished. Some of them aren't. But I've got a lot of stuff that at the moment I thought, wow, that's a great idea. And I start writing, and something distracts me and I don't finish it. And so I've got a lot of them in various states of completion. But the calendar is one place where I did. Another place, old pictures. I'm scanning through old pictures. Every picture tells a story, and they do, some better than others. And so sometimes I'll get ideas. I'll be flipping through and I'll see a picture, and a flood of memories will come to me, and I can start piecing that together. What would somebody want to know about this picture? How would I talk about that? High school yearbooks, that's a time of life that a lot of people like and can relate to. The high school, it's a thing. What is that? What is Google, the actor Marilu Henner? She has it. Oh, okay. I know Marilu Henner. She was on Taxi, I think. I know that. I remember her from being on Taxi, and then I know she's also been involved in, I don't know, some controversies over the years, but I can't remember what all that was. I'll check that out. Your own memory. I mean, everybody. If you read anything about mindfulness, most people either spend their time in the past or the future. Very few people spend their time in the present. That's okay. I spend a lot of my time in the past because maybe that's why I like history. But a lot of times I'll remember things that I haven't thought of in a long time. And every once in a while, if there's something comes up, I said, hey, you know what? I think I could really write something about that would be fun to write, and that somebody might actually read. I don't want to give you the idea that every time I write a memoir I get a million people reading it. I don't. I'm very in medium world. I'm very average. I don't think I have like around 6,000 followers right now, and it took me a long time to get those. I'm not one of those people with 100,000 followers and off the charts type stuff. It's a slow thing for me. Oh, and another place is your closet or a memory box. A lot of people have keepsakes, and they put their memorabilia over the years in some sort of shoebox. I have a blue plastic tub that has stuff going all the way back to when I was a small child. But I'm very picky about what goes in there. But I got tons of stuff, and if I start thumbing through that, I'll have a lot of memories come bursting forth out of that, and that'll give me a lot of ideas of things I can write about as well. Let me see if I've got anything else in here that I wanted to share. You know what? I don't. I guess at this point we've got about 5 or 6 minutes. If you've got a question, put it in I got everything in chat. I don't have any. I didn't look at people or questions and answers. I just have it there. Let's see. What am I looking? Read above that. It's a thing. Oh, a highly superior autobiographical memory, HSAM. I've never heard of it. Everybody just says I live in the past. And I don't. I live in the present. I worry about the future just like everybody else. But I do. I can remember some things really, really well. And sometimes it's a smell. Sometimes it's a sound. It doesn't even have to be a real thing, a tangible object, like, something I would find in a closet or a memory box. It might be a smell that brings back a flood of memories. It might be a song. I mean, the Dan Fogelberg thing came from just hearing the song once, a little before Christmas. I heard it. And so what I did, let's see, a little bit more about a definition of a short memoir piece. Okay, back to what I consider, and like I said, this is my opinion. Other people that write memoirs might have differing views, and that's fine. To me, a memoir is a small slice of your autobiography. It should have as short of a time frame as will work. And like for me, most of mine are, never more than a day or two, maybe 3 at the most. Spread out too far, it gets to be like an autobiography. And so you're trying to find related events that tell a story that other people can connect to, shared experiences where the person will say, I've been there. I know what that feels like. I could write a piece like this about mine. And if you can connect with people like that, you might inspire them to try writing a memoir piece as well. It's not like all my memoir pieces, were really good. Some of them I wrote them and is like, I'm almost embarrassed to admit that I wrote some of the ones that I did. But that's a memoir is going to be like that. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Start writing stories for your life. Do that. Write those. Like I said, at my age, I've got all this. Oh, do I publish through a both? Most recently, I've been publishing memoirs through The Memoirist and through Crow's Feet. But I do occasionally, if I'm in a hurry, and they're pretty good. Crow's Feet and The Memoirist are really good at turnaround times. And so I'm really happy with the editors there. But I do some self-publications as well. I didn't in the beginning because I didn't have enough of a following. And so I would self-publish and I'd get 40 views and 15 reads and make 30 cents. So I started using publications. Now I would say it's probably not 50-50. I'd say 60-40 I use publications. And those would be ones I would recommend submitting to. The editors there are very helpful. They're quick to turn around. Crow's Feet, I can't remember the names of the editors that I've worked with there right now in this moment, but give them a look and check out their magazine. There's some great memoirs to read in there that might give you ideas on something that you could write. Any other questions? Well, this is great. This has been great. This is I wasn't sure, when they say 30 minutes, it's been a while since I've used this kind of a format. Personally, I would much rather be sitting in a coffee shop with everybody, having a sandwich or sitting in a pub, having a cold beverage and, yakking it up with everybody. And that would be a lot more fun. But, things being what they are, this is what we got. And it reminds me a lot of when I was teaching online during COVID, only except you guys are here and my students mostly just put their icon up and then went off and played video games. So thank you for that. So I guess I'll just back out. I want to put my email address on here. If anybody is interested in knowing more or just wants to reach out to me for any reason, I would be happy. I'm really good about answering emails. That is my email address. And feel free to contact me about anything, especially if you got a good tip on a hot horse. I'd be particularly interested in that. Okay, thanks for coming. And if I have another session in about a half an hour on building an audience. So if you're new to Medium and you want to check that out on how to build your audience, it's mostly for newer people though. If you got 10,000 followers and you're making $500 a month, you don't want to listen to it. But if you're newer and you want to check me out for that one, I'd love to see it. All right, thanks so much. Have a good night.